All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. This webinar is a part of our larger Healthy Utah Community Learning Network. And as a part of this learning network, we try to put on webinars with different topics about once every 2 months. So we have a really great topic in store for you today. We'll be hearing from Rebekah Rawlings from the Division of Outdoor Recreation, and she'll be talking about Play Beyond the Playground, recreation and infrastructure grants for your community. And this is a particularly important topic right now as our screen time levels are up. We recently saw an article that children are getting about 7 hours of screen time, but only about 4 to 7 minutes of unstructured play each day. So this is very important for our youth. So before I turn the time over to Rebekah, we have just a few announcements from Get Healthy Utah. So first, if you're new here, at Get Healthy Utah, our mission is making Utah a healthier place to live. And we know that health is really big. And so at Get Healthy Utah, we kind of focus in on physical activity, healthy eating, and mental well-being. We have a few exciting upcoming events. So our big one is our annual event, and all of the links that I'll be talking about will be put in the chat. So you're welcome to scan that QR code, or you can use the link that will be in the chat. Our annual event is going to be titled Momentum, and we'll be talking all about the work we've done through the Healthy Utah Community Designation Program and kind of what is in store for the future. So this will be at Mill Creek Common on September 16th from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you'll get to hear from some really exciting speakers, and you may even have a chance to do some extra activities like roller skating or using the climbing wall. So that'll be really fun. And then we also have some Healthy Utah community listening sessions coming up in a few weeks. So we're currently revamping our Healthy Utah Community Designation Program, and we want feedback from those who know the program really well. So we have these kind of three different dates and times depending on what type of partner you are. So those links will all be in the chat for you to use. All right, and then we also have a social connection community grant. Applications are currently open, but they will be closing this Friday. So if you're wanting to apply, you still have a couple of days to get that application in. And kind of the purpose behind this is to work with cities and towns to create some kind of project that fosters social connection. And so eligible applicants are our cities and towns, but if you work for a different organization, you're welcome to apply with a city or town. So the priority for this application is going to be given to our designated cities, projects benefiting low-income populations or individuals with disabilities, and projects that have sustainability and ongoing community engagement. So I'll move on to the next slide with the application link, but I do want to highlight that our funding can be limited, so we can't do any, infrastructure pieces or construction. So maybe to fill in some of those gaps, you can use some of this funding from the grants that Rebekah will be talking about. So again, these slides will be sent out afterwards, and we'll put the links in the chat so you can access those. All right, so I don't want to take any more time from Rebekah, so I will introduce her. Rebekah Rawlings is the Youth Engagement Grants Analyst for the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation. She's a kid at heart who loves spending time outdoors, whether that's puttering in her garden or exploring a mountain meadow. Rebekah is happy to meet one-on-one or with anyone who needs support putting together an application. So with that, I will stop sharing and I will turn the time over to you, Rebekah.
Hi, thanks for having me. Um, can you guys see my screen okay? You good there?
Yes.
Great. All right, I'm excited to be with you guys today. I am the Youth Engagement Grants Administrator at the Division of Outdoor Recreation, like Emma said. Previously, I have also um, been here with Get Healthy Utah presenting on the Every Kid Outdoors initiative and how cities and towns can partner with that initiative. So I've moved into a new role on our team working with the grants, and I'm excited to tell you about them today. So if you're familiar with the Every Kid Outdoors initiative, that's another part of the Division of Outdoor Recreation's youth engagement program. Our goal is to help kids have a healthy, active lifestyle. We understand the importance of nature and getting outside for on youth development, on social and emotional development. And I want you guys to think back to your own childhood, tap into that inner child a little bit, and think about the things that you enjoyed doing outside as a child. For me, I loved playing in the mud. I got dirty a lot. We didn't have grass in our backyard, so for a lot of growing up, so we just use a hose and make a mudslide. The best. Not saying that our funding is going to go towards making mudslides in your backyard, but just emphasizing the importance of remembering how not only fun it is to play outside as a kid, but how beneficial it is for you as well. And there's a lot of research that backs this up as well. So you might be familiar that being outside improves your curiosity, confidence, sense of belonging, sense of self. So the grants that I'm going to talk about today that we have available through the Division of Outdoor Recreation are designed to expand access both through programming and infrastructure for kids. So we have 3 grants that first I'm going to talk about an overview of these grants. We're going to do a little bit of brainstorming, get the ideas flowing of how this funding could work in your community, what this could look like. And then we're going to get into some nitty gritty, talking some details about what this actually is going to look like. And depending on your familiarity with either our, the Division of Outdoor Recreation's grants, if you've applied before, or if this is your first time or you're new to grants, I've got a little bit of everything. Some of it might be redundant if you're already familiar, but want to make sure that the process is easy and clear for people. But without further ado, let's talk about the funding opportunities available. Like I said, we have funding both for programming and then for infrastructure. So these 2 programming grants are UCORE, and then we have this year a specific one for educators. UCORE stands for Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education. So this can be used for anything that helps kids learn outside, have experiences recreating outside for youth 6 through 8. Helps cover all those practical costs of getting kids outside. This is the only grant that the Division of Outdoor Recreation offers like this. Most of our others are infrastructure. So this is a really unique opportunity to get some funding for your community to take kids outside. Next, we have the Nature-Based Infrastructure Grant. It previously was called Outdoor Classrooms. We've expanded it this year to go beyond just a classroom kind of setting, because we recognize that learning happens in many different ways, not just a traditional like sit down, listen. There's learning that can happen very hands-on. So the example we have here is a school garden or a community garden. That's one of the possible things this can fund. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into these. So UCORE, another overview, programming costs. We want to look for programs that are going to maximize the amount of time and number of youth and the quality of time that they can spend outside. So you all, as local governments, cities, towns, recreation departments, are eligible to apply for this funding, as well as tribal governments, nonprofits. Any activity that helps encourage outdoor learning and recreation opportunities is eligible. Some of those eligible costs include transportation. If you need to pay to bus the kids from your recreation center to the trailhead where they're going to be hiking, this can help cover that. If you need to cover your staff hours, this can help cover staff hours. Event or like a campground fee, entry fee, food for the participants, promotional materials, as like if you're making t-shirts for all your kids, as well as covering other costs like insurance, safety equipment, and then scholarships as well to reduce barriers for youth who otherwise wouldn't be able to participate. Okay, and then that same grant also is available for educators. If you guys are connected to your city's school district and want to see programming like that happen, you can connect them to me and we can chat more about that. But for now, let's talk a little bit about the infrastructure that you can build. This grant specifically goes towards permanent built infrastructure. Now, the Division of Outdoor Recreation does have several larger grants too than this just $15,000. If you're looking for a larger scale project, I can point you to the right direction for other grants that could also cover this cost. But for our youth specific one, it's up to $15,000. This is going towards public infrastructure that can help outdoor learning in some way. Some of these include pollinator gardens. We can cover pergolas and pavilions, ropes course, climbing wall, moving parts playgrounds, water features that are going to have kids play outside, like a splash pad kind of idea. Here are a few more different things that we'd like to see this funding go towards, things like amphitheaters, climbing walls. Educational institutions are also eligible to apply for this, for green schoolyards, to help there be more shade and nature in these play spaces than just, I don't know, you've probably been to a playground where there's no shade and it's just the metal slides. And we want kids to connect with nature in a more meaningful way. So let's, real quick, let me see if I need to change my screen. I'm going to ask for a little bit of participation from you guys. Just gonna go ahead here. Okay. If you can go ahead and scan this QR code here. It'll take you to this Slido poll, or you can open a new tab in your browser and enter this code. And I want to hear your ideas for what this could look like in your community. Now that you know some of what this funding could go towards, whether it's programming or yeah, tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are. And while you're doing that, I'll take a look at the chat if I can and answer any questions while you guys are all good. We'll save questions for the end. Walking storybooks, an adaptive playground. Frisbee golf course. Transportation to neighborhood centers.
Webinar. Yeah, I need to get this.
A family camping trip. Hiking trips. It's so exciting. This is my favorite part of grants, is getting to hear about people's ideas and hear the brainstorming, because we want this funding. This is publicly available funding. It's money that the state of Utah has decided needs to go towards helping youth, and we want you guys as our partners across the state to help make this happen. 4-H learning garden, we need classroom learning space. Amazing. Oh, you guys, I'm so excited to hear about these ideas. Okay, you're welcome to keep adding ideas in here. I am gonna go back to okay. Okay, as you continue adding answers there, we're going to talk a little bit of logistics, the practical side of grants. So like I said, you can request up to $15,000 from the Division of Outdoor Recreation. This year, our total funds that we have to give out has increased. We have $850,000 to give out. So please put your hat in the ring. Applications are currently open and they will close on September 21st. So you have a little over a month to get your application and everything together. And then we will have another cycle next year, of course, if that's too short of a deadline this year. But if you do have a good idea of what you'd want to apply for, you can put in your application. If you save it but not submit by August 26th, so by next, what's that, 10 days, I am happy to do a staff review for a completeness review of your application to make sure that things have uploaded, that everything's looking in order. Or if you want to chat about your application, if you have specific questions, I'm here as a resource for you, and you are welcome to email me, give me a call, or book a time to chat with me as well. I'll have links for that at the end. But if you want an application review, early deadline is August 26th. So another practical logistical matter is the grant match that's required. So for your total project cost, whether this is the infrastructure or the programming or UCORE, both of those grants require a 20% match. So what that means is of your total project cost, we can cover up to 80% of it. So if your total project, if you work backwards and say, okay, this project's going to cost us $10,000, your organization will need to cover $2,000. And that doesn't have to be necessarily cash. It can also be in-kind match as well. So that could be volunteer hours, or if you've had donations of services or goods, you would just calculate the value of those and add that to your budget. So these contracts also are 18 months. So that they would start in January next year if you receive funding to go from January to June 30th, 2028. So all spending would need to happen in that time period. And they are reimbursement-based grants, which means that you would need to provide funding upfront, and then keep track of your expenses and then request reimbursement afterward. And we do that because they're public funds, and we have a responsibility to make sure that they are spent in, it just allows for better transparency on how those funds are being used, if that makes sense. But if that doesn't work for your organization, you are able to request upfront funding as long as you fill out our upfront funding request and explain the circumstances. So let's go into talking about what makes a successful application.
And Rebekah, we did have a question in the chat.
Yes.
Olivia's asking what % of proposals are funded?
Yeah, this year we have more funding available than we have in the past. And I don't have that exact number off the top of my head. I do know that it depends on how many applications we receive. So we're anticipating more this year than we ever have received before. And we also have more money to give out this year. But in the past, I know for the nature-based infrastructure one, nearly all of the proposals were funded simply because we didn't have as many applications last year. Whereas some of the UCORE ones were, we weren't able to fund all of those because we had a lot more applications. So it depends on that, but I can, I'll have a better idea for you after this grant cycle closes and we score all of the applications. Okay, so as you're thinking through and building your sorry,
we did have one other question come through from
yes.
Robin. He's asking if the Division of Outdoor Rec, is the Division of Outdoor Rec funding year over year, or have you been given multi-year funding? If multi-year, how many years?
Yes. So this program, the UCORE program, is in code that this is a in perpetuity. Sorry, what is that word? Perpetuity. This program exists in the legislative code and will continue. The nature-based infrastructure grant draws funds from another grant program called UORG, Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. So it's just a subdivision of that, which also has funds in perpetuity. The funding depends on, it comes from the transient room sales tax So that's hotels, things. 1% of transient room tax goes into this outdoor recreation fund. And then that is distributed through these different grants to different percentages. So how much we have to give out on a given year depends on how much transient room sales tax is collected, if that makes sense. So there will always be some funding available. However, that amount will fluctuate based on. Does that make sense? Okay.
If I can add some context, Rebekah, just quickly. Sorry, this is
Oh, yes.
Caroline tuning in. I'm not gonna have my screen on, but Rebekah's just taken over this grant in the last 2 weeks. She's doing an incredible job. And just for the background information of, I used to be the grant manager in the last couple of years. And the first year, just to give some context, we had like $300,000 to give out, and we had requests in the upwards of $1 million. So it's been really cool to see the program grow and see that the demand and applications coming through has then increased the amount that we have to give out. So I would say, like Rebekah said, put your hat in the ring, because the more we can show that there's demand for this program, the more we can see that there's funding needed. And so I would say, like, last year we gave out $750,000 and also had requests up in the just under $1 million. So almost, 75% of the applications were funded last year. So just for some context, and thanks, Rebekah.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in, Caroline. Yeah, Caroline was our, you might have worked with her before if you've applied for the UCORE grant in the past. So, yeah, did that answer that question?
Yeah, we had two others come through. I know we have about 10 minutes set aside at the end for questions too, but really quick, I just want to clarify, are you going to be putting the link to the application at the end of the slides?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. And then we have a couple other questions. I don't know if you wanted to wait until you get through your slides or answer them now.
Yeah, let's hold the questions for the end. I might answer a couple of these as we go through this logistics part, and then we'll make sure we get to all of them.
Perfect.
So, okay. So as you're figuring out your program or infrastructure, you're going to want to have a detailed plan of who is this going to serve, describing the need for it, realistic timeline. Another big component that is a make or break for an application is the budget. We have a required budget template to use, and the more detailed you can be, the better. We should be able to tell just by looking at your budget sheet what the funding is going to be used for. So a good test is to have a neutral or like an unrelated third party look it over, and if they can tell what you're going to be using the money for just by looking at your budget sheet, you're probably good to go. But again, if you want a completeness review, complete that by August 22nd or 26th. So all of the costs, including the matching, what you're spending your matching funds on, those all need to be eligible costs. You can find a list of these in our program guide and on our website as well. I'll have links for those and can send those out as well in a follow-up email. So, yeah, I also recommend writing your application separately, like in a word processor. It's easier to edit. Another note as well on AI use. You're welcome to use it. However, it shouldn't replace like a meaningful answer from you. Everything should be reviewed by a human. There are humans who review your application on your end, and we can tell when AI was used often. And so just a note on that. You're welcome to use it, but just make sure you review it. All right, another thing that can help strengthen your application is partnering with Every Kid Outdoors. And you're welcome to look back in the Get Healthy Utah webinar library. You can find our webinar that was just all about Every Kid Outdoors. If your city has signed up as a passport distribution center for these Adventure Challenge passports, or if you've signed up to host free or low-cost community events, you can learn more about that on our website as well. I won't go into it too much. Just know that partnership with Every Kid Outdoors is a way to help strengthen your application. It will be a question on there on whether you guys are a partner or not. And it's a way to help expand your impact in your community beyond just your grant program. Okay, so when you apply, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need your detailed budget. The links for everything are there in the portal. I'm going to show you in just a moment what that looks like. Detailed budget, a detailed plan, some of these forms, letters of support. Letters of support are a great way to showcase the story of your program or your infrastructure, the need for it, to kind of tell that story in a way that you can't just in the application. So we love to see letters of support from maybe some organizations who are providing a cash or in-kind match for on your budget sheet. If any of those partners can write letters of support, maybe if you have a program that's already existed and you have some parents of those participants who can write and tell about how impactful this program has been for them, we love to see that. And then for the infrastructure grant, we will need a couple more things. There's a statement of responsibility, like who's going to be in charge of maintaining, who owns this land, as well as a site map and proposed plans. So there's some of your things to have ready. Oh, sustainability plan. I also wanted to mention for infrastructure, our grants require you to maintain the site for at least 10 years. And we will have like occasional site visits as well. So just a plan for the sustainability of the program and the infrastructure. Our committee also likes to see programs that can trend towards being self-sustaining, that don't rely solely on our funding to exist, but that we can help them get started and then they can continue. So sustainability also is that. Okay. We talked about this a little bit, so I'm going to go through this so we can get to the questions. Actually, instead of going through this, talking about the match, because as I had mentioned, a grant can cover up to 80% of the total cost. You can use in kind, and then have a budget that can be ready for reimbursements. Instead of going through that, I'm going to share you real quick how you start your application. Let me switch my screen. Okay. Okay. All right. If you are here on our website, so this is recreation.utah.gov. And then, so if you go to recreation.utah.gov, here under grants, we'll go to youth engagement grants. And this has more information. You can see our program guide here, as well as lots of relevant forms. This will be updated here soon, but clicking apply here will take you to our grant portal, where you can log in if your organization already has a login. Otherwise, you can create a login for your organization, and you'll use the same portal every time you apply for any Division of Outdoor Recreation grants. So if you're on this screen, you'll click apply, and this is going to take you to all of the currently open opportunities. So if you wanted to apply for nature-based learning infrastructure, click here, and it's going to give you all this information about the grant. A lot of what we've talked about is available here. You also will have links here to the budget sheet that you'll need and all of the other forms. They're all linked on here, as well as my information. And then you'll just hit apply, and then they make you hit it like 3 times to start one. It's a little bit clunky. If you have any issues with it, please reach out. Happy to help. And then here you'll get all that information again, and then be able to see everything you need. So I recommend starting an application before reaching out with questions too, so that you can look through everything that you need to be ready. Okay, I'm going to go back. Let's see if I can successfully. Thanks for your patience with me as I'm figuring out screen sharing on Zoom. I usually use Google Meet, so. All right. So the review process too, once you get your application in, September 21st is the last day at 5 p.m. Please don't wait for the last minute, because usually it's a little bit slower and it's harder to upload files. But if you need to, it's better late than never. However, we do not accept late applications for any reason. So if you miss that deadline, we'll see you next year. Um, but after you submit, our staff reviews it. And then we have a committee of evaluators, our youth engagement, and they're all volunteers from different industries and different sectors that come together and volunteer their time and expertise to review. And then we'll have a big scoring meeting, which is on November 5th. That's open to the public if you are interested in watching a 6-hour long meeting where we score all of the applications. You're more than welcome to. It will be on the public records website. And then beginning of November, you'll be notified and the contract would start in January. So figure out what grant works best for you, build up that plan and the budget, create your partnerships, figure out your budget, and then hit submit. And if you need any help, you have resources. I am here to answer any questions. Feel free to email me, and I can share a link as well to schedule time to meet with me. We also, if you're needing partners to work with in your community, we have our community partner specialist, Ashley. You're able to reach out to her, or I can connect you. And we also have an education specialist, Karen Bell, who works specifically with schools and educators. So if you're interested in getting educational materials for educators in your city, or if you have an after-school program at one of your recreation centers, anything like that, we can connect you with her there. Okay, and here's that QR code to start your application and learn more. And now we'll go to those questions. Emma, are you able to see the chat? And maybe we answer those first and then
Yeah.
and open it up.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here and sharing about the Division of Outdoor Rec's awesome grants. It sounds like you're able to fund at least 56 projects, which is a lot, and communities can kind of choose what they want to do and tailor that to their specific needs, which is really exciting. So, um, we're going to put a link in the chat to an evaluation survey. For those of you who attended, we would really appreciate if you don't mind taking this quick evaluation survey. It should only take about a minute. It's all multiple choice questions, and we just like to get your feedback on what topics you'd like to learn more about, and what went well. So we will put that in the chat here. Looks like Alicia did that, so thank you. So it looks like Melissa's question was answered by Tara. So thank you, Tara. And then Darlene was asking if you need to request upfront funding, does that have an effect on scoring?
No, because that wouldn't, well, as Caroline said, I've been doing this for about a month now and have not yet been a part of a scoring meeting. So, however, what was the question again?
I can chime in too if that's helpful,
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yeah. Thanks, Caroline.
No, not at all. We have a variety of applicants and organizations that we support. Some of them have, $0 and they're just starting out, and so this is kind of their first go at things. And so we are happy to support that. What we'd ask for upfront funding is just that you spend the cost. We can give you 25% of your award in increments. So you'd send, hey, we need $3,000. And then within a month, we would see all of those receipts, invoices, the amounts that have been paid. Then you'd send that back to us just as follow up. So not at all a problem.
Thanks, Caroline.
Great, believe those are all the questions in the chat that I'm seeing. So we still have about 10 more minutes. So feel free to just go ahead and unmute or drop your questions in the chat.
I'm also going to share my email in the chat. You're welcome to send me an email afterward.
Hi, I'll jump in. So this is Janet Wampler from Ogden Valley, and I wanted to ask, so I'm guessing these grant applications are project-based. so that if, say, the municipality itself wanted to apply on behalf of a project at a certain location within the city, but then the Parks Department also wanted to apply, it would be based on the project, not based on the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we will take that into consideration. Like we'll be able to um, just see the list of all of the applications. So if there are multiple in one area and it's a really tight, like we're trying to spread funding around, that might be a
Sure.
consideration, but
And
likely
then,
not. It's mainly based on the project itself.
yes,
So an organization is also welcome to apply for more than one if you have separate programs. However, the main thing would be that the funding needs to be completely separate. So like your budget and your reimbursements, you're not able to double dip.
thank
Like
you.
using, yeah,
Yeah.
one grant for another.
My
Yeah.
other question was about, you mentioned something about planning for sustainability, and there was a line that was said about something about 10 years, and there would be site visits. I was wondering if you could extrapolate on that, the 10 years of the program, because if it's an educational program for students, not sure how that plays out.
Yes. So that's specifically for infrastructure,
Okay,
that for the 10-year maintenance. For the programs, that's not a specific 10-year thing. However, the committee does prefer to fund programs that are going to be able to happen
repeatedly.
repeatedly instead of just being a one-time thing. However, that one-time experiences aren't necessarily disqualified. That's just a preference on the committee's part.
Understood. So on the infrastructure part and different things, different projects would have different lifespans, and I mean, off the top of my head, right? So if we're doing a climbing wall, it'll come with a certain length of time guarantee for the equipment, this and that. Those sunshades, I can imagine, depending on where you're located or how brutal the sun beats down on that particular location, maybe has a shorter lifespan. So the 10-year program, are you saying we need to budget in for replacement costs for up to 10 years, or you're saying the project itself, that equipment should have a lifespan of 10 years?
Yeah. Caroline, do you want to jump in on this one? Caroline's moved into a role as our grants compliance officer. So this is her new area of expertise.
Yeah, I'm coming to you from Price, where I'm checking out a bike park that is 5 years old and still looks great. So this is something that is new from the Division of Outdoor Rec. We're trying to make sure that our projects that we fund are lasting longer than just the life of the contract and even a couple years later. So that's an excellent point about lifespan, and we totally understand that, right? If weather and elements are going to impact your sunshade and various other features. So I don't think that would be as pertinent. We're kind of thinking more with these larger scale infrastructure projects that we want to see last 10 years. So I don't think it would be as necessary to say that a climbing wall outside is going to last 10 years. But this is something to think about as we develop these policies of what is the lifespan of certain elements, like a climbing wall that's outside. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, but that's something for us to think about. So thanks for bringing it up.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Caroline, and thanks, Janet. Yeah. Looks like we've got just a couple more minutes if anyone else has questions they want answered.
I have a question. This is Kate Chappell in Torrey.
Hi, Kate.
I saw that this was going to be recorded. How do I get the recording and then share it with the community partners that I have so that we're all on the same page before we start the project of writing this out?
Yeah, I can answer this question. So everyone who registered for this webinar, we have your email in a spreadsheet. So if you
Okay.
got the link from somebody else and you didn't register, go ahead and put your email in the chat. But if you did register, we will send out an email later today. We're going to record this and we're going to put it on our Get Healthy Utah YouTube channel. So we'll share the recording or the link to the YouTube recording in an email. And we'll attach Rebekah's slides and all of the links that Get Healthy Utah and Rebekah have shared. So you'll have all of that information to refer back to. And then it'll be on our YouTube channel for the foreseeable future, so you can always come back and refer to that YouTube video. Are there any other questions before we wrap up?
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place to say this, but I'm an intern for USU Extension, and I worked in the climbing industry for a long time. And if people need help getting like industry, like those resources, or need an idea of how much building a climbing wall would cost, and need to get in touch with anybody within that industry, feel free to reach out, and I'll gladly try to help put you in the right direction.
That's great. Thank you for providing that resource.
Thank you. Nathan, would you mind throwing your email or contact in the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'll send out Rebekah's email. So if you do think of something later, you're welcome to reach out to her. But again, I just want to firstly thank Rebekah for being here and sharing about these grants, and I want to thank all of you for being here and attending our webinar. So with that, I'll give you back 3 minutes of your day. So have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me. Looking forward to seeing your applications.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much.